Hey there, Rachel Cook here, business growth strategist for women entrepreneurs, and welcome to Uncomplicate Your Business, a weekly show where I share how you can keep things simple and strategic so you can design a business you love with a lifestyle to match. I'm so excited for today's show because the last few weeks for Uncomplicate Your Business, I have been sharing a lot about how you can design the life you love while you grow your dream business. And this is something that I feel like we leave out of the whole business building equation. We end up finding ourselves completely burned out, realizing that we haven't been taking care of our health. We haven't been spending quality time with our families. We haven't been having a life, right? As we grow our business because we feel like we just have to hustle, hustle, hustle nonstop instead of finding that balance. So the last few weeks we've been talking about how you can design your dream life while you grow your business. And today is an Ask Me Anything about how I managed to find that balance. Now, I will be the first to share with you that balance is a verb. Okay. I feel like a lot of people approach this idea of work-life balance as if it's this magical percentage that you hit and then you're always 100%, 40% life, 40% business, 20% sleep, or whatever that percentage breakdown might look like. And that is, something you just find and then you magically stay there. That's not what balance looks like. I feel like balance varies so dramatically from person to person. Okay. And not only from person to person, but life stage to life stage and business stage to business stage. So this is something that I want you to think about as you're growing your business, defining your definition of success and then figuring out what balance really means to you. Because some people are in a stage of life or a stage of business where it makes sense to work. It makes sense to work a lot. But some of us, we're at a stage of life where maybe you're like me, you have children and you need to be available for them. Maybe you're at a stage of life where you simply don't want to put in crazy hours. You want a business that you can run in, 20 hours, 30 hours a week and then have a life. So it's all about defining what balance means for you and knowing that it might ebb and flow a little bit. I think this is just such an important thing to say up front. Because, I talk a lot about this topic and I make it a goal to only work about 25 hours a week, but there will be seasons and have been seasons of my business where I work, 30 or 40 hours a week. Those seasons tend to be during live launches. They tend to be like, I remember back in the early days of my business when I would be creating what would become Sweet Spot Strategy. Like you put some of that time in up front for a season, knowing that I would be able to back off later. So I think that's just really important to kind of set the stage for today's Ask Me Anything. Balance is a verb. It takes work. It is different for each and every one of us. Some of us are going to need a lot more family time. Some of us are going to need a lot more personal time. Some of us are going to need a lot more work time. And it depends. That's not the cookie cutter answer that a lot of people look for, but it depends. And I think knowing that makes it a lot easier when you're looking at how to design your life, with a business that really works for it. So another question I get a lot, and I'm going to pull this up here. Rach, how do you stay motivated when you're working for yourself and from home? How do you stay focused and make things happen every single day? This is a question or a variation of a question I get a lot because, like I said, I only work 25 hours a week, so I don't have time to waste. And this is really important. If you were to actually have someone like sit on your shoulder and watch everything that you do, are you actually working? And this is something I've done a lot of research into because there's a lot of people who study productivity and have said that, a lot of us overestimate the time we're actually working and underestimate actual work getting done. So often people think that they're working, 60 hours a week, but if you actually looked at what they were doing during those hours, there was a lot of scrolling around on Facebook or a lot of getting distracted and pulled in a lot of directions. And I'm talking about 100% focused time. So that's the biggest reason I am able to work in 20, 25 hours a week, is because I stay focused. I stay focused. So when I sit down to work, I don't have multiple screens open. I don't have Facebook open and then my Instagram on my phone, and then I'm also trying to write something. I sit down and all the distractions are shut off. So when I sit down to work, I'm working. Yesterday, I wrote a 14-page guide for my Sweet Spot Strategy students. And the only reason I was able to get that done in about an hour and a half is because I knew exactly what needed to happen. I had no distractions, and I sat there and got it done. So if you've taken my Fired Up and Focused challenge, you've heard me talk about the Pomodoro technique, where you are literally single tasking. You're focused on one thing at a time. You set a timer for 25 minutes or 45 minutes, and you don't get up, you don't move from that task until the timer goes off. And that is huge. Another thing that's really huge for me is planning my work. Planning my work. And I have read that for every 10 minutes you spend in planning, you save an hour in execution time. So it seems counterintuitive because a lot of people feel like planning takes so much time. Like if I were to take a whole day of planning, well, that means I'm, using up 5 or 6 or 8 hours to plan, and that's taking out of your actual implementation time. Actually, it will shorten your implementation time because you're not going to spend so much time in that implementation time spinning your wheels trying to figure out what's next. So planning is really, really important. Now, I did a whole 3-part series on how I plan my week earlier. Actually, not this year, is in December. So if you go back through my Facebook Lives, I did a whole 3-part series on big rocks and understanding what the big priorities are in your life and your business, on how I create my model calendar, and also the planning page template that I have called Best Week Ever. So I talked about how I actually structure my weeks to get things done. So that's a lot of like the productivity type of stuff. What about motivating myself? Well, this is something that's challenging for me to dissect because I am naturally a type A, ambitious, motivated person. Like if that's you, let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you. Who else is like a type A motivated person and achieving is kind of your love language, right? That's me 100%. Like I was the straight A student. I was the person who's always achieving in some way, shape, or form. So for me, staying motivated isn't the challenge as much as staying focused. Like I have big goals, I have big dreams. What's harder is finding the focus, because when you are a high achieving entrepreneur, when you're creative, what tends to happen for a lot of us is we get all these ideas and it's hard to turn off the idea generating machine. And those ideas start pulling you in a lot of different directions. So the focus is really the bigger secret. It's not necessarily the motivation as much as the focus that I need help with personally. So if you're having a hard time getting motivated, I would actually encourage you to think about why you are building this business, and what is that for you. Everybody's why is going to be different. And as much as I would love us all to have these big whys that are about changing the world, honestly, sometimes it might just be my why is I don't want to work a job and I want to have more freedom. My why might be I want to have financial freedom. I want to make more money than I could make in a typical 9-to-5. That's okay. Like whatever that why is, motivate yourself with it. I find that for me, because I am the sole breadwinner of my family, that why is kind of built in. I have to make sure that, the mortgage gets paid and that I can pay for the kids' activities in our life. So that's a pretty big motivator for me, is just the financial reality of being the sole breadwinner. If you're not the sole breadwinner, knowing those numbers, if you have a financial obligation, that definitely helps stay motivated, but also start dreaming bigger for yourself. I know that for a while, the biggest motivation for us was me getting to the point where I could be the sole breadwinner. And then I started feeling like, okay, this is great. I got comfortable there. And it took a while to dream bigger. It took a while to start having bigger dreams for myself and the impact I wanted to make in the world. But I take time to think about those things and to always kind of up level those goals and that vision for what I want to create for myself and my family. Okay. Let's see. I have another question here. I just moved far away from my free childcare in family in Florida to San Francisco. Now I'm learning to do more of my business in my home with less time and enjoying the extra time with my 2.5-year-old. I love that. You're so welcome. Jordan was just saying thank you for the work that you do. And I think this is a challenge for a lot of people. Like, you just said, Jordan, you didn't have a question, but I'm going to share this because it is a question I get. I actually wrote a huge blog post about how to get childcare. Many of you know I started my business literally, it was 10 years ago. 2008 was the year that started this whole journey. That was the year that I quit my job as a corporate consultant. Didn't know exactly what my next step was. And it took me about a year to really launch. It took some time. It wasn't until after that, after I started the business, that I got pregnant with my twins. And then a whole nother layer of complexity was added, which was how do you have babies and grow a business? So I wrote a huge blog post on my website. If you go to rachelcook.com/childcare, it has a whole range of creative solutions for those of you who are in that position. Like you're growing a business, you're starting a business, you have little people around, and you know you need help. Because as much as I wish I was the mom who could just like do it all at the same time, I am not. I am the mom who needed time with absolute silence to get my work done. So having childcare was like a non-negotiable for me. Okay, Catherine asks, do you stick to defined office hours? For example, do you say, I won't be working after 5 p.m. or something like that so you're able to have some downtime? Catherine, yes. Absolutely. So this is something I talk about in that series I mentioned earlier, all about how I design my week. And I have very clearly outlined office hours. Now, I think this is so important for you and for your clients. Okay. So for me, I know that, again, I am a high achieving, super motivated person. I mean, I love the work that I do. And I could very easily work all day. Like, ask my husband, he would tell you, if I get in a zone, I can often sit there for hours and not realize it. So office hours are just as important for me as they are for my dream clients. Okay. So office hours help me make sure that, again, I am creating some balance in my life because I will work if I don't have a clear boundary there. So I have dedicated time that I work every week. These hours have shifted over the years, honestly, because of my kids being so little. Now that they're all in school, I pretty much work from probably 9 to 2:30 each day. The twins get off the bus at 2:30. So I don't really start until 9 or 10, and I wrap up by 2:30. Now, sometimes I'll pop in, like I have a group that I run for my online mastermind, Sweet Spot Strategy. And sometimes in the afternoons, I'll have their questions coming in and I'm hanging out on the porch swing, drinking a glass of wine, watching the kids ride their bikes up and down the driveway, and I'll answer questions in the Facebook group. But for the most part, those are my office hours. Now that's really helpful for my clients too, because they know, and I remind them, we tell them, we don't work on evenings and we don't work on the weekends. And I think that's so important because we live in a day and age where it's really easy for people to, my clients are working on their business in the evenings and the weekends sometimes. I get it. Like we all have to find the times to work on our business that makes sense for us. And for me, I just had to really let them know, like, hey, we'll pick it up on Monday. We'll catch it on Monday. If you email us Friday afternoon, we'll reply on Monday. And that's in our autoresponder. That's in the end of the week announcement to my groups. So they all know like what our boundaries are. Mitchell just showed up. Hey buddy, you want to come over here? You want to come over here and be on the Facebook Live? So this is Mitchell, my 5-year-old. You want to say hi everybody? Say hi.
I'm not 5 yet. I'm just 4.
He'll be 5 tomorrow. You want to say hi friends?
Hi friends.
Hi friends. So Mitchell is my youngest and you're turning 5 tomorrow, which is really exciting. And the last 5 years have flown by. Now that we are at the stage where he's in preschool, he starts kindergarten next year, we have a lot more time and energy. Like when he started preschool, oh my gosh, I felt like my capacity to serve and to show up for you guys completely expanded. So that's why this year I was able to start a Facebook Live show because he was in preschool 15 hours a week. Okay. Hi, everybody. And it's his birthday tomorrow, so he will be 5 years old tomorrow. And so how do we juggle life with you? He actually doesn't leave for school until 9 o'clock in the morning. So Jameson, my husband, who's over here, manages him pretty early in the morning from the time we drop the kids off at the bus, the twins, older two at the bus, until he goes to school, and Jameson picks him up from preschool. But that time that we have in the mornings is really, really important for us as a family. You gonna go with Daddy?
Come on,
No, I want to stay with you.
I have more questions to answer.
My mom wants to go
Okay.
to the
You want to answer some questions too? So Catherine also asked, have you created a workable schedule so you don't get lost in Facebook? Yes, that is just, I don't go into Facebook unless I'm specifically doing something. So I will go into Facebook to specifically answer questions for my community and for my clients, and then I get off. I don't just sit there and scroll Facebook for the sake of scrolling Facebook. Same thing with Instagram. I'll specifically have a plan to go on and do an Instagram story or do an Instagram live or post something, answer a couple things, and then I get off. So that's just really good, like, time management type of things. Go eat some lunch with Daddy, please.
And then
Yeah, come on,
I
partner.
gotta come back.
And then you want to come back. Mitchell wants his own Facebook live show, guys. Okay. So Lisa asks, how did you get out of your inbox? How do you find the best people to outsource to and keep them? I have high standards and I'm concerned about finding the right people. I'm in the process of interviewing and reviewing their mini assignments now. So this is such a great question, Lisa. And this is something that it takes time, right? It takes time to find the right people to build your team. I'm really lucky in that the people who are on my team that manage admin stuff, operations stuff, tech stuff, customer service stuff, first of all, you don't just start a business and have like a team of 4 or 5 people. So keep that in mind. But second, I definitely went through a process to find them. So all the people who've been on my team have been on my team for years now. And one big thing that really helps with getting out of your inbox, and that's the first area I got out of my inbox with, is spending time onboarding those people, right? So one of the challenges I see with a lot of people who are trying to build a team is they kind of are like, okay, great, now you're handling the inbox, go. And that doesn't really work very well. Like, they don't know your client, they don't know what you do, they don't know how you would respond to things. So it helps to have procedures and systems for how to handle different types of emails. And this is something you can start documenting now as you get ready to hire somebody. It's also something they can start documenting for you. And you want to make sure you're giving people a chance to get used to your inbox, to get used to your business. So this could be as simple as, saying, hey, the next week we're going to have a Skype date, every morning to go through the inbox together, and I'll tell you how we would handle each of these types of things. And then they start to figure it out, right? So I think that's really what it's about. With anything you want people to take over in your business, you can't just hope that they're going to know exactly how you would handle it or exactly how you would respond to things. You have to tell them, like, here's the type of emails we get from our clients. Here's, our top FAQs. We actually have pre-written emails. So if we get a question in from one of our students, we know exactly how to handle that. So if somebody got locked out of our membership site, cool, here's how to access that. Somebody needs a download they can't seem to access, cool, here's how to access that. We pre-write a lot of stuff. We have templates for a lot of stuff. Also getting them to know how to handle things. Sometimes they just don't know unless you're on the same page. So for example, I get asked a lot if I can participate in like an online summit or something like that. And after a while, I just had to say, you know what? Our blanket answer is no. I will do interviews for a podcast, but doing those summits don't feel like a fit for me at this point. So it's all about helping them onboard into your business so they get to know you and your business and how you would handle things. And again, the more you can document that stuff, the easier it is, and it really does free up a lot of time and energy. Okay, Kelly asks, what tips do you have for someone that's working on building their business while working other jobs? Because bills are for real. I have 8 hours a week to dedicate to building my business. I totally understand this. And I would say, Kelly, the biggest thing for building your business while working other jobs, one is this, what is the direction you hope to go? Like, know what you're moving into. Know what job you're building for yourself. You have 8 hours a week right now. Are you planning on working more, or is that pretty much where you are? Also know what income do you need to replace? Okay. So let's say, your jobs bring in $5,000 a month and you need to replace at least 2,500 of that, like half of it, in order to start adding more time into your business. Like, think through that so that you can create a plan, because it might be possible to reduce some hours in that job while you increase your business, just with some strategic planning there. The other thing that I would say when it comes to, especially for those of you, and I know especially, I have a lot of yoga teachers and holistic health people and coaches who they work multiple types of things at the same time. Your time management has got to be impeccable. It's got to be impeccable. Like, you've got to really know where you're spending your time and energy. Are you working on the highest value things in your business? Are the jobs you're working actually giving you the return on investment you need? So is the job paying you as much as working for yourself would for that same hour? So like, if you were teaching, let's say, a yoga class twice a week, is the time and energy it takes for you to do that equivalent or higher than what it would be to work in your own business? So these are hard questions, right? But I think if you're working a job, the beautiful thing about having job on the, and building your business on the side is it takes some of that financial pressure off your business. But if your goal is to transition 100% into your business, you have to have a plan. You have to know what your revenue goal is and what you need it to replace. You need to make sure the time and energy you're spending is actually worth it and yielding a result. And you also need to make sure your business model makes sense. So often I see people who are making choices in their business model and their marketing strategies that actually aren't helping them get where they want to go, because there are things that are going to take a long time to build. So they're focused on low value offerings or low price point offerings that are going to take years in order to get enough people to buy that thing. And they're focused on marketing strategies that depend on big audiences. If you're doing that while, working, that means you're going to be working for a couple more years while that grows. But if you flip your business model and your marketing strategies to focus on high touch, high value, high result, suddenly you don't have to work with as many people and you can make more money very quickly. So it's all about getting really clear about your strategy, about how you manage your time, that kind of thing. Okay. Great question from Rachel. Okay. Is it really possible for me to grow an online business based on online courses and cultural expertise? But I need to grow my email list too, and my courses need to grow. Do you help people with building good online courses, by the way? Yes, it is possible. It is absolutely possible. You guys, I think this is one of those things where when you're kind of getting an information overflow from a lot of different sources, you can get that feeling of it's already been done. Has anybody felt this way? Like, everyone is already doing it. Somebody's already doing this. Why should I even bother? That kind of mental loop that starts when you're on everybody's email list and you're seeing all their social media. You start to feel like there's no room for me. It's already been done before. So-and-so is already doing it and they're doing a great job. Why would I even bother? This is a dangerous, dangerous place to be, because suddenly we're sitting here having a pity party for ourselves. So what I want you to know, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you want to have a local business or an online business or, offer courses or work one-on-one, there is room for you. There is absolutely room for you. And for a lot of us, we are in the beginning stages of really rapidly growing industries. Okay. So the numbers support anybody who is in the health and wellness industry. The numbers support anybody who's in the coaching industry. The numbers support anybody who is in a creative field. These are industries that we are just in the beginning baby days of, really. I promise you. So the most important thing I want you to think about is if you're at the point where you just need to starting, is just know that these first little while, I wish I could say it happens overnight and everybody's an overnight success, but you will want to focus on starting as soon as you can and getting out there as soon as you can and taking those baby steps day after day after day, week after week after week, because it does take time. And if you want to become the breakout success in 2020 or 2021 or 2022, you have to start in 2018. You can't wait. So there is definitely room. There's room for you, Rachel. There's room for you, every single person. But you have to start. You have to start. Okay. Okay, so this is a follow-up piece from Kelly asking, she has a signature course that launched and had a few sales, but of course it takes time. But what is the best way to grow with such little time? If you have an online course, you have a group program, and you only have a few, maybe 8 to 10 hours a week to work on that and to grow your business, the most important thing you need to understand is how are you enrolling people into that? Okay. If you don't have a clear plan to market that course and to sell that course, it's going to be really, really hard for it to grow. So the worst thing you can do is create an online course and then just stick it on your website and I hope people buy it. That's not going to happen. I have seen over and over again, the most people, even though you can go to Sweet Spot Strategy through a link on my website and go buy it. Nobody does that. Pretty much nobody does that. Sometimes they do, but most of the sales come when we are actively promoting it. So there's a couple pieces there. One, you need to know, when are you actively promoting that course? Do you have it in your calendar? I really recommend for everybody listening, if you have a signature offering, you need to promote it twice a year, if not 4 times a year, but twice a year is a good place to start. And that means building out a marketing strategy and a sales strategy where you're going to do a big push to enroll for that program. The other thing you want to be doing is knowing how are you selling that, okay? And knowing conversion rates is really important here too. You can sell several people a month into that course simply by using your 8 to 10 hours a month to have conversations and enroll them via a conversation, a phone call, a Skype call, a Zoom call, whatever, and enroll them into your program. That's going to be generally the highest converting on a one-on-one basis, is actually having one-on-one conversations. But if you need to scale that, then you want to start looking at things that are more scalable, where you're selling one to many. So that could be having a challenge that invites people into your course. That could be hosting a webinar, or if you're local, an in-person workshop that invites people into your course, or interchange course for program, whatever it might be. Having some sort of event where they can experience it could be really, really powerful. Now, this is all stuff we talk about a ton inside of Sweet Spot Strategy. How do you make those changes from selling one-on-one to selling one-to-many? And then the next level, which is what I focus a lot of my energy on, how do you automate that so that you are constantly enrolling people into your thing? Those become more sophisticated strategies, but you have to know, how are you selling it? The other piece is, where are those people coming from? So for every business, it could be different, right? If you are focused on referrals, then you need to focus on getting those referrals into a phone call, more than likely. If you're focused on growing an email list and then selling your offer through email, then you need to focus on growing your email list. And there's so many different ways you can do this. I wrote an entire program on how to do all of this, but I couldn't possibly answer it all in one quick little Q&A call here today. But I will say You need to know your marketing strategy. You need to know your sales strategy. And I would plan to have a live, active promotion for it at least twice a year, with the focus being on really ramping people up, because people take action when there's a reason to take action. So live promotions really, really do well in general. Great question. Someone in our group was asking how to prepare your business for the birth of a child. And this is such a great question. Thanks, Cassandra, for sharing it here again, because this is one I get a lot. Like, I have 3 little people. Like I said, I did not have children when I started my business. So this is a journey I've been on a couple times. The first thing I would say is, whatever I say right now about how to prepare your business for having a kid, it might change. You might listen to me and think, oh, that sounds good, and have the perfect plan laid out. And then this baby comes and your world is upside down and you're not sleeping and the baby has colic and you just have to be ready to like throw everything out the window. All I can share is babies are like anything that's going to be big changing in your life. You want to prepare for the worst and then hope for the best, right? Like, prepare for the worst case situation and then hope for the best. So how do you do that? One is know your numbers. If you don't know what your business needs to be generating for you, it's going to be really hard to do any planning. That was the biggest priority for me each and every pregnancy was, what do I need to be generating in order to pay our bills? So I knew exactly what we needed to be generating in order to pay our bills, and that helped me make some key decisions. When I had the twins, that helped me decide very quickly. I didn't at that point have a group program. I didn't at that point have an online course. Everything I was doing was one-on-one consulting. So I decided, instead of having one-off one-on-one sessions with people where I would just work with them for like a couple hours or a little bit here and there, instead I decided, nope, this is not working. I need to not have to spend all my time hunting down clients. I need people who need my help for a long period of time. So I ended up enrolling 2 different clients who worked with me as long-term clients. So I was actually a consultant implementing marketing strategy into their business. And I ended up working with them for probably 18 months, which was great because it allowed me to have the twins. I was working maybe, 10 hours a month between these 2 clients, and they paid exactly what I needed to have because I was doing work for them, which is high value work. Sorry, my nose is itching like crazy. And that was great. That was an easiest solution. So I always go for the path of least resistance when it comes to that. When it came to Mitchell, who you just saw, he's 5 now, but, I remember 5 years ago when I was hugely pregnant with him, I actually went into, our maternity leave knowing, one, I had a team. So Amber, Kinney, who's on my team, she's basically my operations manager, my OBM, my business operations manager. She had a plan. We had a plan we worked on together about how I was going to take 3 months off. So really what that ended up looking like was I took a few weeks off and she kind of touched base with me to let me know how things were going. But I eased myself back in. We covered the revenue gap by doing a launch of our program before he was due. We covered the revenue gap by enrolling private clients and designing a new way that I would work, where I did half of their 6-month program before I left for maternity leave, took off maternity leave, did the rest of it when I got back. So the clients all knew exactly what the timeline was. And I think getting creative is the key to creating your maternity leave when it comes to all of that. The other thing I would say is, this is not the time to try to like reinvent your business. I really, really would say to every mom, new mom, wait until the baby is here to make any big changes. What is very stressful for a lot of new moms is they get into like the last few months of pregnancy and then they're like, I'm going to create an online course. I'm going to completely overhaul my business model. And that puts a lot of pressure on you if your business is dependent on your revenue to fund your lifestyle. You don't need to add that extra pressure right now. So I would look for the path of least resistance. The easiest way to get paid is probably going to be taking something you already have and making it work for you. So in both of those cases, I was already working one-on-one. I just said, hey guys, I'm looking to work long term with two businesses and do the implementation piece with you and for you as a consultant. With Mitchell, same thing. I already had a 6-month program. Hey, I'm going to change this up because I'm going to have a maternity leave. Here's how that's going to look. I already had a group program by that point, Sweet Spot Strategy. So we ran an enrollment for it before, which gave us a nice bump in revenue. I didn't come up with a new program right before I was getting ready to have a baby. I already had that. So look for what you already have so that you can, really go the path of least resistance and do something that's tried and true. That would be my biggest piece of advice for new moms. Okay, so Humaria, I'm not exactly sure how to say your name. Humaria, is Facebook ads the way to go? I'm in network marketing with amazing products. Great question. I think it depends. And the reason I think it depends is because most Facebook ads do not convert well to just a sales page. So here's what I mean by that. If you saw a Facebook ad that said join Sweet Spot Strategy and you'd never heard of me, you'd never been on my email list, you'd never followed me, you'd never watched anything of mine, you're probably not going to click through to it. And two, when you click through to a sales page, you're probably going to be like, I've never heard of this person. I don't want to pay this. So ads directly to product sales pages, generally speaking, do not do that great. They become very expensive very quickly. What is working is using ads to grow your community, and then in the community, you educate them and then invite them into what you're doing. So if you followed me for any length of time, you probably know, we run a lot of Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And what we're doing is sending people through a process, sending them through a journey. So you've probably seen, let's say, a Facebook ad right now. We have the Grow Your Business from 5 to 6 Figures webinar going on. So people see that Facebook ad and then they join the webinar. They listen to a 90-minute training. I invite them into Sweet Spot Strategy, and then they have that webinar piece that helps them see who I am, what I'm about, etc. What we have seen over the last really year is that wasn't even working as well because, again, cold traffic who don't know who I am going straight to a webinar, they might not be ready for that yet. So one thing that we started doing was shifting it. So it's not necessarily cold audiences, cold traffic going to the webinar. We actually focus on amplifying our Facebook Lives to cold audiences so those audience members can get to know me before we ever invite them into Sweet Spot Strategy. So Facebook ads can work. You have to have a strategy. Facebook ads will not work if you don't have a clear journey for people to go on. If you don't have a clear marketing and sales system you have designed to guide them from hearing about you, understanding what you do, making sure it solves their problem, and then taking that next step. If you don't have that piece figured out, then Facebook will happily take your money, but you probably won't see great sales from it. So Facebook ads is like any other piece of marketing. It's great for attract, which is getting in front of audiences who don't know who you are. It's not so great for nurture and sales, if that makes sense. So if you're not sure what all that means, one, check out my webinar because I talk about the 5-part marketing journey, and that's exactly what we teach inside of Sweet Spot Strategy. But I would really encourage you to build out a process, a journey that you're taking people through, and then prove it with warm traffic first. So warm traffic means, teaching in front of someone else's audience. It means getting out there and doing a bunch of interviews, doing guest posts, doing Facebook Lives. A warm audience is people who already start to know, like, and trust you, that you're not having to pay for. If you can't get a free audience to convert, a paid audience will be even harder. So make sure you're doing that first. Okay. Rachel asks, can you tell us the program you mentioned? Yes, it's called Sweet Spot Strategy. That is our online mastermind for women entrepreneurs who want to design a business they love around the lifestyle that they want. So if you are interested in that, you can check out yoursweetspotstrategy.com, and that's where all the details are for Sweet Spot Strategy. Okay, I think that's all the cues that have come in here on my Facebook page. So thank you guys for joining me today. I get so many questions, arranging all sorts of topics, but as you can tell, I'm really passionate about the idea of designing your business to fit your life. And for me, if I were to boil it down to kind of like my philosophy on all of this, is choose the path of least resistance. It's really easy to complicate all of this. It's really easy to come up with super complicated marketing strategies and sales systems that require like 20 different things going on. But that is usually going to be the most frustrating way to go about all of this. So choose the path of least resistance. Find the easiest, simplest way to achieve the goal that you have. And make sure that as you're designing your business, it works for your life. There's so many people out there teaching business and marketing right now. And I really wish they had almost like, the time it will take you to implement this strategy is going to be 200 hours, because it would really help people see that a lot of what's being taught right now is very time intensive. It has a huge, huge learning curve, but there are simpler, easier ways to accomplish your goals that don't require you to be, some sort of tech guru, that don't require you to work 90 or 100 hours a week, when you focus on doing the things that are the highest value for your business with the least amount of time and energy. So thank you so much, you guys. I can't wait to chat with you again next week for the Uncomplicate Your Business show coming up in March. It is Get More Clients March. We are going to be talking about how you can start getting more clients, especially those one-on-one private clients. Again, it's all about path of least resistance, focusing on the things that generate the most revenue for your business very, very quickly. And in March, I'm going to be walking you through a very clear process we have used and that we've helped hundreds of students use in order to keep their private client dockets full. So I can't wait to kick that off March 1st next week on the March Uncomplicate Your Business show. Take care. I hope you have a great week. Bye, everybody.